I'm Alicia Kramer. I'm the CEO of Wassa Hypnotherapy and the founder of Thin Healthy Happy. I'm also a very proud mom and a lifelong learner of self-development. I work with motivated individuals and conscious entrepreneurs to break free of old negative conditioning that may have been holding them back and to really allow their inner radiance to shine. The truth is we all have a unique gift to share with the world, and it's your purpose in life to really own it, to embrace your magnificence, and it's my job to help you to do this.
Welcome to the Living Consciously cable TV show. I'm your host, Coach Steve Toth, and your moderator. And our theme today is actually very, very exciting. It's about self-growth, and specifically about how to live in the present moment. Let me introduce you to our guest and also our expert self-growth panel. Starting with our guest, and she's on the top right-hand corner. Her name is Kimberly Rex. She is a certified resonance repatterning practitioner and a person-centered expressive therapist. She is joining us from the Pacific Northwest, from the beautiful state of Washington. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. It's wonderful to be here.
Awesome. And right below Kimberly, there's Ninon de Verderosa. She is our self-growth expert, and she's joining us from Los Angeles. Welcome, Ninon.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be on your show.
Awesome. And next to Ninon, to the left, that would be Jamie Lerner. And Jamie Lerner is also our self-growth expert, and she's joining us from Chicago. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, Jamie. And right above Jamie, there is Alicia Kramer. And Alicia Kramer is also our self-growth expert, and she is joining us from Wisconsin. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. So let me just tee up the show and tell you how the show is going to go. So we're going to have 3 segments today, just like usually every week. And the first segment will be about, we're going to share with you the actual team of the Living Consciously TV show. We'll share with you what is the Living Consciously TV show is all about. And then in our second segment, we will be talking about what are the issues and what are the problems with people today living in the present. And then in our third segment, we'll be talking about solutions and different modalities that the expert panel knows and have used in their practices, how to actually resolve any issues and problems that people have if they are actually up to it. So I'm very excited getting started with the show. So let's begin with what is the Living Consciously TV show is all about. And let's start with Alicia.
Well, I think that my fellow cast members would agree that we're really all kind of on our own unique journey. And this show is an opportunity for us to co-create in such a way that we are sharing and melding and blending our experiences of consciousness with our audience. And we hope to do it in a very positive and productive way and maybe inspire a few people to come on the journey with us.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. Well, what about you, Jamie?
Well, I think Living Consciously is a lovely option, and I think this show is a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate just that, because when you live consciously, you have all kinds of choices that you can make for yourself on a moment-to-moment basis. And once again, I think this show is a wonderful platform to demonstrate that.
Fantastic. Thank you. And you, Ninan?
Well, I actually agree with all my team, but I think living consciously is I'm learning, as well as also helping other people to learn what living conscious is. And it's living in the moment, but also I think it's sort of being aware of how you perceive other people and what you say and how you say it, and being conscious of how you do that. And just one single word can change someone's life completely, good or bad. So being conscious, I think, is to try to understand when you're speaking and when you're addressing somebody else, is to understand what you're giving them in a nice way, and try to let them understand what it is just to live every day and to be in the moment. It's a beautiful time, and I think what you're doing, Steve, is bringing this to the forefront and a platform where we can all have that living conscious experience.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think Kimberly has been around us enough to probably answer this question. What do you think, Kimberly, the Living Consciously show is all about from a guest perspective?
In watching the show and experiencing the energy here today, it really feels as though this is a wonderful opportunity to be in the moment, in the show, to have both personal coherence and relationship coherence. And to be in a place of, I was listening this morning to Rupert Spira, who was saying, we experience experience, we are experiencing experience as experience. So this is a really wonderful opportunity to do this right now, and to do this in a way that's from a mindful place.
Great. Thank you, Kimberly. So for me, it is a lifelong dream that it's unfolding in front of us right now. And what we are trying to accomplish with the show is to really show the public, to give them a different option that what normally 99+% of us have been exposed to in commercial broadcasting. And what the difference is here is that we want to show you what consciousness actually feels like and looks like, and how we're going to accomplish that. And we're still learning about it ourselves, and we're still growing, is to show you by leadership, by each one of us leading this, to actually do it ourselves, to walk the talk of what it means to be conscious. So again, for me, actually today's theme is a huge area of what we do, because it's really about being in the present moment. I believe that consciousness begins and ends with that, is can we be connected to ourselves, and then once we are connected to ourselves, we're connected to love, and we're connected to light, and then once we connected to that, what's possible and how we connect to others. So let's begin the conversation, the discussion about, can we as a team, as the experts and also with our guests, come up with the top 10 reasons that we think people are unable to be in the present. My experience of this is that most people, and I would say, I would be comfortable saying that probably 99% of the population is not living in the present moment. So can we come up with the top 10 reasons why that is? Alicia?
Well, I'm going to start with the one that I think is probably one of the biggest, and that is, it's a defense mechanism to escape, and whether that's through television or food or, I mean, there's so many different ways that people tune out. It's a defense against feeling our emotions and not knowing how to process them in a healthy way. So I really believe that that's probably one of the biggest reasons why people are not present, is because it's literally an escape route out of their uncomfortable feelings, or feelings that they don't understand or know how to deal with properly.
And what are we escaping?
The uncomfortable feelings. And we, I think that from the time that we're children, we're taught in a way to numb ourselves to our feelings, or to not acknowledge our feelings, or to just let it go is so common. You're not really ever taught that it's okay to have certain feelings, and there is a natural, healthy way to express and feel your feelings so that they don't become problematic for you. And, a very stereotypical example of this is boys aren't supposed to cry, right? So what happens when a young boy feels sad? It becomes a process of training the mind to repress your feelings, and now what do you do as an adult when those feelings come up? Now you have to run off to something that you can stimulate yourself with and avoid the present moment, what you're feeling right now.
Mm-hmm. Got it. What about you, Kimberly? What do you think? Can you give us a reason why people are not or unable to or challenged by being in the moment?
Yes. I'm going to go to Bruce Lipton's work, and he talks about how every second we're being bombarded by all kinds of information. So Alicia was talking about this. We are having all kinds of information that we're entrained with through our family patterns and through our cultural patterns. And so what happens is that the nervous system, the body-mind system, can process only about 1% of this incoming information in the moment. The rest of it gets stored in the body-mind system on an unconscious level. And so in order to access that information, we need to make a space for that. And because of stress levels, we also have places where we don't have the time to be able to process. We don't make that space or have that understanding or mindfulness of that ability to tap into this information, to look at the patterns that have been set up. So it's an historical situation that's happening. It's also places in our lives where if there's been a shock, a trauma, a loss, a significant stress that has not been resolved, or there hasn't been an opportunity to really access that and to process it in a way that will help us integrate that information, and so that we can then manage it, then we are most of the time bouncing off of our habitual patterns. We're going into that habit place rather than being in the present and observing or being mindful about what's happening.
Okay, Kimberly, are you saying that we are on automatic pilot? Like we're not even in near the present reality of what's going on right now? When we do this, we are on automatic pilot, living from the past?
Yes, and so that's where the internal manager, it's about consciousness there, about, what is being, what are we responding to? Are we reacting or are we responding? And moving into a place where we are able to take the space, as I said, to even create a practice of becoming mindful of our thoughts, of what we say to ourselves, of what we're experiencing, really getting in touch. As Alicia said, we often numb what we feel. So really getting in touch with those feelings. And I think also, as Alicia said, that we don't have the permission to do that. We don't have the permission to take that space or to take that time to even breathe many times, or to move, or to access a way to resolve or to restore or to heal many of the things that have gone on in our lives, or experiences that we haven't had a chance to integrate fully.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. So what about you, Jamie?
Well, I think that it's about quieting the mind chatter, and making room to...
Yeah, we're not talking about solutions yet, Jamie.
Okay.
We're talking about...
All right, well, I
got to bring you back to
I'm sorry.
issues and problems. Give us an example that you think that gets in the way of people being in the present.
Okay, I think that people don't understand that they have the choice to feel good. So I think that we are often unsure that we have the ability to control how we feel. We feel that we're a victim most of the time to how we feel. We're dependent upon other people and their reactions to us in order to feel good. And I think that that is an issue that doesn't allow us to become conscious of what we're actually feeling ourselves.
Oh, wow.
So we care way too much about what other people are thinking and feeling about us. And we
Okay.
don't care enough about how we're thinking about ourselves and how we are feeling about ourselves.
Yeah, got it. So am I hearing, Jamie, that people, it's easier for people to feel bad and to be negative? Is that accurate?
I think that that's what they know. So I think people need to have permission to feel good and to understand that that's an option and that they're in control of that option.
Okay, got it. Thank you. What about you, Ninan?
Well, after listening to all of you, I agree with all of you what you're trying to say. I think it's a little bit of as we're taught, we're always taught, we're never told the great things we do. We're always taught the wrong things we do. We're reprimanded about how we did something wrong, which we have to correct. So we've always got this kind of in our mind of sort of correcting something. And I think people get inhibited or they get afraid of being criticized when they say something which may have happened in their childhood or whenever. And I think people should be a little bit not so worried about when they say something they're going to be criticized, because they do have the choice of correcting it or answering back or having a conversation about it without having an argument. And don't be afraid to be yourself. I just had an incident which I won't go into, but I put my foot out, to help somebody, and it ended up absolutely incredibly well. It was absolutely beautiful. It made me feel good. It made them feel good, and everybody was happy. I think it's making that initial step, not to be afraid of being criticized or being wrong or being right. And it's just sort of, don't be so inhibited, and we get so inhibited. And I think we use a lot of the things that have happened to us in the past. We can't say the future, but we say in the past of the things that have happened to us, especially as children. And I think that's a happening. That's the past. We can learn by it. But we've got to learn to live in the present and move forward and go on the happier side of life, not to always criticize somebody or see the wrong side of something. Let's see the right side of something.
Okay, so I need to interrupt you, Ninan, because this is a story about what I asked, and what I would like to hear is give us a specific reason that you think people are unable to be in the present.
Because I think they don't listen to other people, and they're more interested in themselves.
All right, awesome. So you ladies probably used up most of the ones that I wanted to share. So I am the last. So now I have to be really creative. So what I'm going to say is that it's about the mind chatter. People have been unable to figure out how to manage their minds, and our minds are completely have taken over. And it is so busy processing all the input and all the information that's coming at us 24/7, including in our dreams, that we no longer know. People don't have a filter for what's important to actually take in, listen to, respond to, and be in the moment with.
Well, what they don't know is what's important to them.
Correct.
So it's not what's important, but what's important to them individually.
Correct. And I think
that's what they're interested in.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to also then the reason why people are challenged by this is because most people don't know who they are. So if you don't know who you are, I think we're game for anything. Anything that we hear, see, experience, will be interested in. Would you say?
If we're interested in it, yes.
No, if we don't know, let me just repeat. If we don't know who we are, we don't know what to filter out. So anything that comes in from the world is going to be interesting.
I think that a lot of people do know who they are, but choose to tune themselves out because they don't trust themselves to know who they are. But I do believe that people know who they are on an intuitive, vibrational level. I do believe that.
I agree with you, yeah.
And it's a trust issue, that they they don't trust what they know, and they don't trust their inner being. And so it's
trust and conditioning is a big part of it, because that's the layer that, you know, covers up a lot of our inborn natural abilities to be very in touch with our spiritual side of ourselves, or, you know, the truth of who we are, for lack of a better term.
Kimberly, did you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to just also amplify that many times at the resonance level, at the frequency level, at the place where, you know, everything is frequency, we're dealing with limiting beliefs or attitudes, or even concepts about relationship, and everything has a frequency. So we bring that to our awareness or lack of awareness. And this works not only just with what we do and what we say, but also what we experience in our body, even down to the cellular level with our health in regards to limiting beliefs. If we tell ourselves something over and over again, or not resonating with, or having unmet needs that have not been resolved in some way, resonating with our human needs, with our spirit level needs, helps us to be able to feel more empowered and supported within. So that all of that safety and trust comes from a number of different aspects of our being. So safety and trust is built through what we value, number one, so when use that word, and also our connection, our vertical axis connection, our spiritual connection. So there are many different components of this. It's how we've been nurtured, how we feel supported within ourselves. It starts with self always, and then that then works into relationships. Now, patterns in relationships can happen over and over again until we do the work, and this is really about a spiritual evolutionary journey that we're on. So it's about creating what's called soul weight. So if we can take the information from our experiences or from our relationships and then be guided by that, then we can move into, perhaps up on the spiral, into greater coherence for love and trust and feeling more greatly empowered. However, it starts at that place where there's a choice that Jamie said. There's a choice. We can spiral down in any situation, down and out of control, more anger, fear, feeling very disoriented, or at that point of choice, no matter where we are, we can choose. That opportunity can be an arrow to the unmet need and our positive intention. So working with that, we can spiral up into greater love and empowerment and choice. So it's really about choice, and it's really about seeing that very pivotal place of that 0 point there in the spiral.
All right.
And I think it's our job to remind people that they actually have that choice, and for them to choose. Maybe they choose not to do things differently, but to empower them and to know that that is an option. To choose something different, to have a corrective emotional experience, to do things differently than the way they know them to be. So,
okay. Why do you think people are so invested in looking good and worry so much about what people think of them? And how is that takes people out of the present moment?
It's a need for approval. It's a need for love and acceptance. And I keep coming back to it because I really, believe that this is a very significant part of why we behave the way that we do. But as children, if you get praise and recognition for when you look so cute in your Sunday dress for church, you start to develop these ideas, your perception of what you're experiencing, and you see it also. You see the judgments that other people around you have towards people who are, say, overweight or who have less money. So we grow up watching judgment, and it becomes a part of our own subconscious programming. And then we in turn tend to take on that role, not even, of course it's not conscious, and that's where that choice comes in, as you start to become aware, and that's when you begin to start making choices to change those programs.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's funny. Yeah, it's funny how a lot of people, how they dress is who they are. And you're absolutely right. When you dress good and you feel good. And I think a lot of people, when they don't dress or feel, they don't want to be noticed. They just don't want to be seen and don't want to be noticed. So their reactions, whether it's their body, their hair, or whatever it is, because they're still trying to hide. And I think that's a big problem that people that they have. They're either shy or they don't want to be noticed.
But it's an inside job. There's plenty of beautiful, gorgeous people who look good and do not feel good. It is an inside job. And if we could get to the point where we are no longer dependent upon what other people feel about us for us to feel good about ourselves, then that is the freedom, the ultimate freedom. And so it's about being inner directed. It's about being connected to ourselves. It's about creating that long-term, loving, unconditional relationship with ourselves first and foremost. And I think we're all capable of doing that. And I don't think it's a big deal. And I don't think it takes a lot of therapy, and I don't think it takes a lot of time. But I think that it takes making a choice to recognize ourselves and to want to connect with our inner being.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal either, Jamie. I agree with you. But what's interesting is if you look out there in the world, I think most people are looking for joy and happiness and freedom out there in the world. They're not looking for it internally. Why is that?
Maybe they just don't want to address it, or maybe it's a depression, or maybe it's something that happened in their childhood, or maybe they're afraid of their own choices.
No, I think people are addressing it. I mean, they're addressing it by buying nice cars, building homes.
But that's just a facade.
Getting married to the most beautiful woman on the planet. They're addressing it.
Facade. Yeah,
it's all out there.
They're
looking for it all out there.
Yeah.
They go to religion. Inside. Yeah. So why is it that we forget that all of this is an inside job? And I think one of you have said that already. And I believe that that's what it is. It's an inside job. You have to come home to yourself. So why is it? And I'm curious about what Kimberly thinks about this. Why is it that people forget?
Mm-hmm. Well, first I want to start by saying it's an important need of every human being to belong. Okay. And so in looking at what has happened to our society and families over the last number of decades, we can see how this has all shifted dramatically. So the sense of community, number one, I think, to help nurture a being, a person from birth, even pre-birth, prenatal, through life into growing up, is essential and important. I could have another conversation about, science and spirituality here, how there was a separation and, how we give our power over to authority, etc. And our first authorities are really our parents. So to be loved, we do things to be a part of a unit, or to be a part of, starting with family, and then our social groups, and then feeling connected throughout our lives is important. I mean, there are so many studies about health and how our relationships with each other are so important to not just our physical health, but our emotional and spiritual health. If we were to go back into shamanic tribes, we would see that there are people who would come if someone were to scrape their knee. People would work with that, whatever pain or issues there were there in the moment, and that people would be seen and heard. So what I'm getting to here is that it's vital for each one of us to be seen, and it's vital for each one of us to be heard. So not being seen or heard is like grasping for, what I don't feel valued. So what can I get outside of me that will offer me value and then also offer me nurture? in some way, which is short term. So it goes back to nurturing, resonating with nurture within ourselves and working with, again, the needs that perhaps have been erased or forgotten or are never addressed. And it could be simple as saying to someone, I need you to listen to me. I need you to be there. And it goes back to those essentials again, creating the space for that to happen. I know I went in a few directions there, but I think it really does come down to our need to be not just, internal, but a need for belonging as well.
But it's our responsibility, and it's our responsibility to know that it's up to us to first to understand our needs and then to ask for what we're needing, instead of feeling like we are a victim to what has happened to us from our family of origin. And once people feel they have that power again to be able to understand, first of all, what their needs are, and that they understand that they're in a position that they can begin to nurture themselves, and then I think that people can begin to have a conversation with themselves about who they are and what they're needing. But first they have to understand that it's our responsibility to create that for ourselves, to understand that. And there's so many wonderful resources out there that will assist us in doing just that. But it's our responsibility.
Well, let's talk about for a moment, how do we, the expert team and our guest, how do we stay in the present? How do we do it?
Well, I think we are there right now. We're right in the present of addressing all what you're asking, questions, and also listening. And we definitely are in the present now. And I was just listening to Kimberly, and it's funny. You have a family of 4 children, and each one is so different, and they grow up so differently. And some are out there, and some are not. And it's just how different we all are, and I think it's just trying to understand whom we are, to live in the present, enjoy the present, and that's tough to do because we're always thinking of the past or the future. We can't seem to enjoy the life at the present time, and I think it's a matter of trying to let go, Steve, trying to let go of everything and just live that beautiful moment.
Yeah, and I wasn't referring to just a show. I'm referring to just our lives. How do we do this in everyday life? How do we stay connected to ourselves? What tools are we using for ourselves to make sure that we're not creating our present moment from the past or from the future?
Well, managing our thoughts is so important that, we can only do that for ourselves. No one else can manage our thoughts. So if we can manage our thoughts and be tuned into the conversations that we're having with ourselves, I think that would be really helpful. Just a beginning to understand the conversations that you're having with yourself, what you're thinking about.
What are those conversations? Everybody's having them, right? What would happen if we took the conversations in our heads and put them on an external speaker? This is for everybody.
Oh, good Lord. I don't know about that one.
I think that a lot of people would be mortified at how they actually speak to themselves. And I often tell clients, start talking to yourself the way you talk to your pets. You're so loving to your pets. And yet the conversations that you have with yourself, they're not very loving. They're not nurturing.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing there for a second, just a sec. So what I'm hearing there, I want to make sure that the viewers are getting this. So what I'm hearing there, Jamie, is that one of the things that you're recommending is for people to listen to what's the conversation that's going on in their heads.
Yes.
That's a clue as to where they are and what they are creating. Is that accurate?
I think so.
Okay,
and how they're feeling about themselves.
Great. What about? Sorry that I interrupted you, Nilan. Go ahead.
No.
What I was going to say is that I think people misunderstand that this is all we have. Forget all the other stuff out there and everything else. All we have is our body, our mind and our body. And we are in total control of this thing, of where it goes, what's going to happen to it. If I step outside my front door, if I make a left, or I make a right, I'm going to go do two totally different things. So it's understanding who you are, where you want to go, not to be afraid of yourself. Understand who you are, and don't be inhibited, because whatever happens, whatever you decide is going to be the consequence of the rest of your life, or the rest of that day, or the rest of that moment.
Yeah, good one, Nina. And so that reminds me of our intuition. So Kimberly, what do you think about intuition, and what does intuition has to do with the present moment and being in it?
Okay, I just wanted to respond to what I've heard in the last few moments first. Is that okay?
Sure.
And then I'll segue. When we have thoughts or feelings or negative self-talk or whatever kind of talk that we're experiencing, we often armor ourselves as well. So that includes our own self-talk with judgment, or if we hear or we're working with the statements that we heard when we were very small, and it's anchored within our neurological pathways. A very simple technique is just to soften the belly as you breathe. So breathing in, and then as you breathe out through your mouth. And just you can breathe in with soft and breathe out with belly. And then I'm going to Stephen Levine, who talks about have mercy on yourself. Have mercy on what you say to yourself. Just make space for it. Have mercy.
Yes.
Create that place. And then the other is to go into the heart. This is heartmath.org's work. The heart has a larger electromagnetic field, and it helps us problem solve better. So when we're, especially when we're under stress, or we're getting ready for a big meeting, or there's a communication, something coming up, and we're having a tough time with that other person, moving into our heart, finding a place of compassion, a memory of joy or laughter or love. It can be any place in the time-space continuum. When you're 7 years old. And then fill your whole body with that. What that does is create this field that expands from the heart and also expands around the brain. And the immune system works better, in fact, for a number of hours. So it helps with communication. If you're going into communication with someone else, or even if you're communicating with yourself, and you're resonating with love at that place, then you're much more likely to have a larger visual field, which directly impacts how you see the world through your life. So this is a powerful modality that can be used in the moment. So we have all this great inner technology that we can use, all this inner software that we can access in the moment that can help us when we catch ourselves at that place where there's stress, we can take a moment, soft belly. Oh, I have mercy on myself. I need to take a pause. I'm going to tune into my heart. I'm going to take a few breaths. I'm going to get my anchor image or feeling, and then, okay, I can move on. Okay, and your body will thank you. Your mind will thank you. And then intuition. I think that that we have, as we become more conscious, we become more in tune and sensitive to not only all of our internal senses, but in the world. And so if we realize that everything in the universe is good for our spiritual evolution, we know that we can be much more aware. As we become more conscious, we become much more connected in the unified field. So unity, our whole body, physical, mind system works better. Our way of looking at the world changes and expands. Our way of relating with others changes. And we have, again, this incredible body-mind system. We're wired for success and self-healing. Intuitively, we have all these neurotransmitters in the gut, okay? And to trust our gut is actually becoming spiritually mature. So, we're taught not to, okay? So starting to do that and then following through on what we get as an intuitive hit, that will help build the field for our being able to do that again and again and again. So it takes that, once we start to trust our own feelings, is taking action with that. So taking action and then seeing what happens, and as you see what happens, you can start to feel more empowered. That's very exciting.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, fantastic.
Great.
Yeah. So I'm going to speak for our viewers for a moment. So if I was a viewer and I was watching this show, I may ask this question of myself. So after listening to all the experts and our guests, how would I tell if I was in the present or not? What's my cue or clue?
Go ahead, Nina.
You go ahead.
I'm going to say that it is something that you do tend to know. And Jamie mentioned trusting ourselves, and this is a real basic level type of trust. When we're in the present moment, we're in tune with our thoughts, our feelings. We can tell what's going on. It's just like when you're in the present moment watching something and you're interpreting what you're seeing that's external or outside of you. Now you're the observer of what's going on inside of yourself. That is a very good indicator that you are in the present moment. Now that doesn't mean that you become so, so stuck in your thoughts and the negativity in that. It's participating in the moment with what you're doing, but also being conscious while you're doing it. And on the other side of the coin, to not be in the moment is really when you stop what you're doing and you're like, well, I don't even remember the last 5 minutes, because it comes back to that automatic pilot where you're really just not in that moment. You're functioning from that subconscious programming. And I like to tell my clients that the statistics that they're showing now is about 95% of our day we're literally just doing kind of that automatic pilot thing, and you can train yourself to be more present and more of a conscious creator of your life just by being mindful.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'm curious about another thing, is that isn't it true that when something that we are reacting to in the world, and that could be a person or something that happens or something that somebody's telling us or just an event, and we're reacting to it, and when we're reacting to it, that reaction pretty much comes from the past, doesn't it? I mean, how do we tell the difference? And here's where I'm coming from. So a lot of people, including myself, okay, so we have opinions about things. So what, and our opinions, of course, come from our knowledge of the past. So when we are opinionated, we're not really open to new possibilities, are we?
No.
So how is that connected to being in the present moment? Like, how do we give up what we know, because what we know may not necessarily serve us? How do we do that? And how do we know what serves us and what doesn't from the past?
It's like telling a story. When you sit down, you're talking to somebody, you tell them that this particular incident happened, you're all excited to tell them everything else, and they could have turned around and say, well, this happened to me, and they start telling their story and doing their thing, and kind of locks you out, and then you begin to feel inhibited, and you don't feel, like Demi would say, you forget the choice of being able to interrupt back again and sort of get yourself back into the conversation, and that's being inhibited, as of somebody else taking you over, and you not being in the moment of being able to sort of get yourself back together again and continue your conversation, say, well, excuse me, and not be afraid of that. And I think a lot of people are afraid of being impolite or being rude, and that has nothing to do with it. A conversation is a conversation. And don't be afraid of having that conversation. And it's not an argument, but it's a conversation. I think a lot of people just sort of sit back and nod their head and say, yes, okay, okay, and they get inhibited about it, and they don't think they have that choice of being out there.
I think when we're connected with ourselves, that our ego falls away. And that when we are in a situation where we're being asked to respond to something and we are connected to ourselves, that our response is a softer version of what it would be if we weren't connected. And it's more of a point of view as opposed to an opinion. A point of view is something that is what you're expressing without judgment. It's all softer. It all feels a lot better. So I think that we operate much differently when we're connected to ourselves. I think we're much clearer about everything. And the communication then is received differently.
Yeah, feeling confident. Feeling confident with yourself.
A good example is being very defensive. You know, when people are very defensive, they become highly opinionated, and it becomes very, very narrow-minded. And Jamie, I totally agree with what you're saying, because that's what you're saying is the opposite of that defensive pattern. It's really just connecting in with yourself, and then you are open, and you're so much more accepting of other people's points of view, and you're open to learning more about yourself.
So are you saying then if we hang on to our point of view or our opinions, and we are not willing to be open and not willing to be able to listen, and maybe even give it a possibility that maybe we want to change our mind about our opinion, then if we don't do that, we get to kind of pretty much relive every experience that we had in the past over and over again. Is that accurate?
Well, you're talking about a lot of resistance, and I think to relive the same thing over and over and over again is to be opinionated and to have a lot of resistance. And I think people basically run their lives that way, and it's a choice. It's a choice. Okay. And it works for a lot of people for a long time, until it no longer works. And then hopefully they understand that there are other options. So
I think one of the greatest things is to be able to have a conversation with somebody, communicating with each other without judging each other and without sort of having my opinion is better than your opinion. I think just having that beautiful one-on-one conversation could be one of the greatest things in the world, with acknowledging each other as having that conversation. And that's very hard to do with most people.
Right. And what does being right have to do with? People have this commitment of being right. They'd rather be right than be or love. What do you think about that?
Well, everybody wants to be right. Well, not everybody, but I think that's just human nature. Their opinion is right and your opinion is wrong. So that's not having a conversation, that's not communicating, and that's, again, going back into your inner self of not really listening to other people. And really, sort of, if you really listen, you really might like what they say and learn something for yourself.
If you are connected to yourself, you don't care about being right, because you're right for you. And when you're right for you, you don't need to tell anyone else that you're right. Those two things do not go hand in hand. So disconnection and feeling the need to be right, yes, those two things go together. And that's okay. I mean, that's okay.
Okay, so what you're saying then is that when we are motivated to be right all the time, that means we're disconnected from ourselves?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay, got it. I think that makes sense. What do you think about that, team? Anybody?
Well, Kimberly, I'd like to get Kimberly's answer on that.
Thank you. I was just getting ready to say thank you. You're intuitive. Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, but fine.
Again, I think right comes from the brain. I think that being present and available to new possibilities comes from the heart. So again, that simple action of moving into the heart and just focusing energy there. Even conflict resolution practitioners work at the level of listening for needs. So one of the greatest questions we can ask another person when we're in conflict is, what do you need me to understand? So this has been done with major groups on the planet who were in for example, the Middle East. What do you need me to understand? Listening for needs, being present to our own needs as we're working, listening to another. If there's a place where we are just really heating up and having a really hard time listening, perhaps we need to do just a brief pause and then come back when we are coming from a place from our heart. And this is important because all of us have family members, we have business people that companions that we work with. We are interacting all of the time. The other thing I want to talk about, where we started at the very beginning of this show, is talking about stress levels. So being aware of our own needs. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I feeling kind of left out here? Am I really tired? Perhaps I just need to be in tune with my own inner need at this time, so that I can come back from a place that's more loving. Now, those places, that, as we're talking about choice, as people experience this becomes so much more powerful or empowering, because it becomes co-creative, and there's so much greater energy possible, and creativity possible when that's present. I hope that adds a little bit to this. That's for myself. I get in touch. Well, am I being cranky here? Am I just saying what I need to say and not really listening to someone else? Then coming back into my heart and finding out, wow, I need a sip of water. I need to. Could we come back and talk about this? Let's get in touch. Take a calm few moments, and then let's come back and talk in a little bit of time. Just again, making that space, taking a breath. Getting some movement involved. So these are all things we can do to help ourselves get in touch with what's going on inside.
Okay. All right, last question, and then we have to wrap up the show because it's that time. And again, I'm experiencing this over and over again, which is when we are connected, and when we are connected to ourselves and we are being conscious, time seems to disappear. And I wanted to ask all of you about that. Just give us some feedback, because this has been an hour show, and I'm experiencing it like it was only less than 3 minutes. How do you experience it?
There's no resistance, and when there's no resistance, everything flows, and it's a vibrational exchange between people, and that is the most lovely expression of oneself, is vibration. So that would be my answer, and awesome. I do agree with you.
Yeah, thank you.
My answer would be, it's funny because you can sit and have a conversation with somebody for 2 hours, and it's like time is no time. It just floats by, and yet you can be with somebody for 5 minutes, and it's like hours and hours, and you're thinking, how can I get away? So it's really this inner beautiful feeling of being where you want to be, and how you are free with some people, not others. And sometimes it could be you, but mostly it's probably the other person that's feeling a little awkward. But it's for you to feel comfortable, with that person. And you're right, like the hour just went by so fast because we're all in a beautiful, tranquil place of listening to each other and understanding each other and where we're all coming from. But we are also all feeling very comfortable.
Great. Alicia?
I agree. And Jamie, you put that so beautifully. I love it. It really is. It is about it's about letting go of this need to be controlled or controlling through the mind and our insecurities and our all of our fears and our beliefs, and just getting that out of the way and being yourself and enjoying the present moment. And when you're really in it, now I don't know what the scientific explanation to this is, but time doesn't operate the same way when you're in different states of mind, when your energy is different. So I believe that we experience things in a different way depending on our vibration, our state of being, our state of mind.
Awesome, thank you. And finally, our guest, Kimberly.
Yes to what everyone has said, and when we are in the moment, truly the way this is felt, there's an expansion of space and time, and there's limitless possibilities. So that I have to say that I feel much more energized. I feel more space within myself, and I feel nurtured. There were so many wonderful ideas here, and activities and things we could do, we could use right away. So it was very helpful, very creative, and this is a perfect example of that. I know that Jamie was talking about listening to self-talk. Perhaps as people go away from this show today, or whenever you're seeing it, you might think about, what could I do that came out of this show that would be helpful for me, and actually take some action with that. Write that down and see how this kind of conversation, really being present, can help you with your next steps. That's what I think is so exciting, that when people are present and they share, there's just so much that comes from it. And taking action is an important step with that too.
Thank you, Kimberly. And that's really all the time we have for today. Many thanks to our viewers, also our guest, Kimberly, also the entire cast here, also the technical producer, Anne, behind the glass. Thank you very much. Don't forget to go to www.livingconsciously.tv and watch our shows, all of our episodes, as well as vote. The more you vote, the more our shows are being played on Channel 56, 57, and Channel 219 here in Denver. And if you live outside of Denver, of course, you can always go to our website at www.livingconsciously.tv and just click on Internet Stream and view our shows from anywhere in the world. And don't forget also to interact with us when you come to our website at www.livingconsciously.tv and sign up for our e-newsletter, as well as interact with all of our cast members. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm Alicia Kramer. I'm the CEO of Wasa Hypnotherapy and the founder of Thin Healthy Happy. I'm also a very proud mom and a lifelong learner of self-development. I work with motivated individuals and conscious entrepreneurs to break free of old negative conditioning that may have been holding them back, and to really allow their inner radiance to shine. The truth is, we all have a unique gift to share with the world, and it's your purpose in life to really own it, to embrace your magnificence, and it's my job to help you to do that.